All right, good evening and welcome to Futbol En Vivo on Club Deportes, show number 29. We are every week on clubdeportes.com. Follow us on Twitter at Futbol Austin. That's Futbol Austin. Follow Club Deportes at Club Deportes for all the latest and greatest sports news and commentary. You got to go to clubdeportes.com where Josh Wolf loves the video editing. I am your host, Eric McCoy, and I am joined by a man with higher standards for coaches than Chelsea FC. It's David Alvarez.
Hey, yeah, very high standard of coaching, definitely.
You do hold your coaches to very, very high standards.
Look at Tuchel. Tuchel, like, lasted 3 games. He just lost 3 games and he's out.
Well, I mean, Josh Wolf lost 3 games. We'll get your take on him.
Let's talk about that later.
But I am also joined by a man who is asking for a friend if it's bad for your favorite MLS team to lose 3 matches in a row. It's Jorge Chavez.
I don't know this friend, but I know myself. I'm the one asking that damn question.
Hey, I asked the questions around here.
We all ask the questions.
I asked the questions around here. Okay, you guys, we got the new mascot. Chicken of Indecisiveness has been upgraded. He's now the official Club Deportes mascot, so that's nice. It's kind of throwing me off.
And it's appropriate in this 3-game losing streak that we have that guy up there.
Yeah, that is.
Because they're super indecisive.
And who was the indecisive? Who won it last week?
It was me.
Yeah.
I was the chicken of indecisiveness. Yes. Yeah.
And you were closer to the actual score, by the
way. Perhaps I was. Yeah. Okay. So for the third straight match, Austin FC have lost, and for the second straight match, they have lost 3-0. I know Jerry's gonna be firing up the highlights here in just a second. Yeah. I'm gonna start with you, David, as these highlights play. Just what in the heck is going on here with this team?
Well, we predicted that we would lose this game.
You predicted you got that one correct. But
I got there because this Lamping was coming over, and then having Drusi coming in the 80th minute. Without Drusi, we don't have a team, pretty much. And the way the defense played right there. Look at this, 4 defenders there, and all of them are just looking. Like Rui Diaz just cut him over. Like,
you could actually start a whole new video clip with the poor defending that was going on there. I think it might be fair to say.
I mean, it started with that on the right side. I don't know. I think that was Gallagher on the right side.
Gallagher had a tough time with Jordan Morris.
Yes. Gabrielson, Cascante, Lima, and Ring. Look at Ring is just looking right there.
I mean, look at how rooted those 4 guys were.
Almost everybody in the defense.
They were like trees, literally,
as a coach,
on the field. They did not move. How
mad does that make you to see that from the defenders?
I mean, it looks really bad because, already Rui Diaz had a shot before that.
How do you leave Rui Diaz and Nico Ladero unmarked like that?
I mean, those guys are at a different level. Like here, he just ran over Gabrielson. He went through the side of Gabrielson. He just beat him.
Gabrielson tough.
And then you can, and instead of putting your body, like when you have the possession of the ball, because there's a moment where Gabrielson had the possession of the ball, but he let it go right there. And it was Gallagher that lost the ball over there on the right.
Yeah.
And he lost total possession. He could have covered the ball. He's a huge guy. Just cover the ball. Don't let that happen. Huge error.
I can tell you're going to have one of your better shows this week, David. You sound fired up already. We're not even halfway through these highlights.
Cascante was right in the middle doing nothing, and it was just almost the first goal. That first goal was like repeating every other time.
And again, I don't think they just recognize who Jordan Morris is. He's a U.S. men's national team player. He's got the speed.
Yeah.
So he totally outran both Gabrielson and the pass for Cascante. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know what tape these guys were watching.
Gallagher should have taken that shot. He did not take that shot, and then Cascante missed that easy one.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, that was bad.
But before, I think Gallagher, he should have shot.
Jerry, do you have any funny music you could play underneath this clip here?
Funny,
I think some music might go well with
some Benny Hill music or something. I guess not. But
that was Cascante missing an easy one, and he hit it with almost with his knee. He's like he just reacted to the ball.
Yeah, he just reacted to the ball. He had no way to place it. Yeah. And that I think here's where the
own goal.
The own goal comes.
And this was like another set piece that got us, and this time huge error by Garbelson because it let Arriaga. Not only he just look at Arriaga and instead of looking at the ball, he should be looking at the ball. Like, why you're not looking at the ball? If the ball is going to hit you in the back,
he was looking at the defender.
Look at
That's what he was looking at the defender.
You can see, like in the next play, you can see clearly he's looking at the defender, not at the ball.
Yeah,
that's huge, huge. Like what do you do? You cannot do stuff like that. There.
Yeah, it hit him in the back.
Ball. Come on.
He could have easily headed it if he was looking at the ball. It hit him in the back of the numbers.
Yeah.
That's just bad. That was just bad.
Sad.
And unfortunately, I was in Seattle to watch this game.
Yes. You actually got to witness this live and in person.
Yeah.
Lucky
oh
you,
my God!
Jorge.
And that
Lucky
wasn't
you.
easy.
Yeah.
Oh my God! That was.
Yeah, that was right in front of
left.
The supporter section was right in front there, and
it was just a
Fagundes. That was Fagundes, and
I didn't
but
see
those
that
were
one, but that was
such few good plays that you could see.
Yeah, really, that Cascante chance and then the Fagundes chance, not much else really to speak of. Yeah,
and so but amazingly Austin won the XG.
I did see that. The Cascante and Fagundes chances were both pretty high, and
they were pretty close.
I think
but
a lot was going into that. Otherwise, there wasn't a ton.
What were the numbers? What were the numbers for this?
Well, if you want to know, David, it's so Seattle with 53 possession, Austin FC 47%. I actually think this is really bad, particularly since Austin FC were trailing from the 12th minute of this match and actually be chasing the match and be outpossessed by Seattle, who aren't even notoriously a team that likes having a lot of the ball. So I think that's a pretty damning stat right there. Austin FC 10 shots, only one of which was on target. Seattle 5 shots, 4 on target. Very efficient Sounders attack. And yes, as you alluded to, Jorge, the XG was 1.07 for Seattle, 1.21 for Austin FC. But, again, Austin FC are chasing this match. There was a lot of value put on that Cascante chance and the Fagundes chance. I don't necessarily put a ton of value into single match XG.
Right.
And this is one of the reasons why, because if you actually watch this match, Austin FC were being quite handily.
Yeah, it did not.
But something repeats itself. It is shots on goal. Every time we lose a game, which is like being very often lately, shots on goal. Like we don't have it.
If we look,
we lose all the shots on goal.
Yeah, if we look at it here,
4-on-1. Come on.
Yeah, that's just unacceptable. How are you?
So here's the question I have for you, Jorge.
Yeah.
So obviously Driussi did not start in this match.
Right.
Didn't come on to the 84th minute. He's
right.
apparently carrying a bit of a knee injury. And also,
right.
And then Seattle have that turf. You don't want to rip knee injury and that Seattle turf. Not a good combo.
Right.
And he was on the verge of yellow card suspension. So I think Josh Wolf wanted to kind of get that out of the way.
Right.
That late substitute appearance to get that out.
Mm-hmm.
So it did not start. But how much of this poor performance can we put down simply to the fact that Driussi didn't play? Because otherwise, this was pretty much the first choice 11. Swap Felipe, out for Driussi out for Felipe.
Obviously, they're not the same type of player.
I think that is very fair to say.
But that obviously that affects the defenders because obviously they're not going to be afraid of Felipe, so they're going to pretty much leave him alone, maybe a one-on-one, and concentrate on covering everybody else. Fagundes and Finley on the other side. And Rigoni did make an appearance, but it's like he didn't because he didn't do much either. So, they just aren't a fearful team without Driussi. If he's in there, at least he causes them a little bit of chaos. But without him, teams are just not afraid of Austin FC.
Do you think that Jorge have a point here, David? Does Austin FC do teams fear the non-Driussi attackers on this Austin FC team?
That's it. I didn't think about it, but now that he's saying it that way, I definitely agree with him because
it's a pretty that's
pretty
a pretty
accurate
point, right?
Because every time every defense in the league knows who Driussi is.
Yeah.
And
the fans may not know who he is, but defenders definitely do.
Every time that Driussi touches the ball, it's something dangerous going to happen.
Right.
When Felipe touches the ball, something dangerous might happen to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you, David. I know you're a big fan of Felipe, so I want to ask you this: Do you think that's the right move to play Felipe in place of Driussi? Because I think really we could talk about the attack wasn't great, but the defense was really poor in this match. And I think one of the reasons it was so poor is that Felipe just does not even come close to replicating the pressing energy of Driussi. And I think they really missed Driussi's just front foot energy up at the top of the pitch. And so what I think could have been done, David, is I think you could have actually started Rigoni, let's say. You can play either left or right, start him on the left, and then move Fagundes centrally, who's going to give you a comparable pressing intensity to Driussi. Do you think that would have been a better idea, David?
Yeah, I mean, anything but Felipe Martins would be good.
Anything but Felipe Martins. Can you find anything positive to say about Felipe Martins?
I mean, it's hard. It's really hard. It's like every time that he's played the last 5 games that he comes in, I mean, you can only say that one pass that he had, it no-look pass to Driussi.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was all about, I remember about Felipe Martins. And he didn't even look. It wasn't even a pass, but it was an assist.
Because
but other than that, he never shows up.
I'll tell you,
I mean, for the experience that he has in the MLS, he's not showing leadership because he's not showing.
He's
not
leadership
being
in a
reliable
different
on the
aspect,
field.
and we can talk about that later.
If you want, let's because we're on the subject of Felipe Martins. Let's go ahead and just get into it now.
Yeah,
he had some words to say at the midweek press conference.
Yeah,
and he said that the Austin FC media is too negative.
Right.
We don't have enough. He didn't call you out by name, Davi, but I was kind of reading between the lines.
We, as part of the media, take offense to that.
Yeah.
We do.
That media over there.
Now the one who uses that thing, that's a different story.
I mean, we just talked last week similarly on the subject of the infamous now Cascante video.
Yeah.
And we kind of all felt like the media is fairly friendly to this Austin FC team in general.
If you want to compare it to other sports,
I mean,
or other leagues,
I gotta say, it's very nice. Like,
it's very formal.
Even considering you are a member of the media, you would still call it nice.
Still very nice. I think I would say we are very nice to the media, and
So what do you think about Felipe saying that though? The Austin FC media is too negative. Does he have any grounds to stand on that argument?
Maybe he's looking at some media that like I haven't seen it. But because we can look it up. I mean, if it's a media that I don't know about it,
maybe a couple of members.
I want to know that media because anything critical, is good to know, right? But when you have a media that's very
after the show, David, I'll have to tell you about a website called clubdeportes.com.
There's a guy there that does some commentary.
But anyways, about Felipe Martin, I think going back to him, I think he needs to step up. He apologized one time. I mean, nicely apologized. He played awful one time, but he has been consistently not very good.
Here's what I'll say. And I heard, and I want to get your thoughts on this too, Hart, but I heard before the show, our sister show on here, the FCTV, an excellent show tonight. I hope encourage everyone to watch that program. And everyone on the show was defending Felipe's comments, saying they're happy he came out and said what he said. And I don't have a problem with him saying anything that he said. He's going to defend his team. He's going to defend his players. Absolutely no problem with that.
It's just a different side of the coin.
At all. I will say it's a little disappointing from him to come out that strong midweek. And then you start, and then you have a performance where I don't see any positives. What do you want me to say, Felipe? What do you want me to say about this performance? I want to like the guy. He was brilliant in that Atlanta United match, which I still think is one of Austin's best performances this season.
He's got he shows spots of brilliance. I mean, he really is a very experienced player. But just lately, and it's not just him. I don't want to spotlight just on Felipe. Really, the whole team has stepped back a little bit from their
I struggled to see anyone that had a good match.
I didn't really see anybody that do really anything. Maybe Stuver a little bit because he's always kind of consistent anyway. But
David would disagree. How
can he defend against the shot that hit the back of his teammate? Yeah. That fluky shot. The other two, I mean, they're just 1v1 against some of the best players in MLS. With Rui Diaz and Morris, so so it's understandable, but that's the defensive side. The offensive side, there's just nothing there, and Martin's being part of the offense really didn't provide anything. But it was interesting what you just commented earlier. If it was a like for like replacement of Driussi, Felipe for Driussi, but they should know that the quality is going to drop off. So why not switch things up? I would have loved to have seen Rigoni in place of Finley, put maybe Ethan Wolf in place of Felipe, see what he can do there. Throw something different.
Mix it up a little bit.
That the Sounders maybe weren't expecting. Maybe some speed in there because Felipe is not the fastest guy in the world either. No. So, but as far as Felipe's comments again, he's a veteran player. I spoke to a reporter about his comments, and what we were kind of figuring out is that he didn't really think of the media as negative. He was trying to pull a rise out of his team by making the media the enemy, I guess, if you will.
Well,
by focusing
like politics to me.
Focusing not on their bad play, but on proving the media wrong. That all the positive stories and all this kind of stuff, because he just wanted to give the team some material, some, what do they call it, board material or whatever it's called.
Yeah, bulletin board material.
Bulletin board. There you go. Thank you. And so I think that's what he was aiming for. Didn't work, obviously, because they were still terrible. Arguably one of the worst performances, really, of the season. And
up there with the Nashville performance.
The previous game.
Sure, yeah.
It was a pretty terrible run of games, but something that Josh Wolf said in maybe one of his interviews, I don't know if it was the one after Nashville or the one after Sounders, but I think he has seen his team be a little bit complacent, that they maybe thought too much of themselves. Second place, they were 9 points ahead of Dallas, which that's disappeared now. We could see the standings there in a minute, but we've allowed teams like Minnesota and Dallas FC to catch up.
Yeah, I think the Jaws music is starting to play in the background as it pertains to FC Dallas, Minnesota, Nashville.
Yeah, Dallas is only 2 points back.
We have a cushion, we have a cushion for
we
a
had
while.
a cushion.
We had a cushion. That's a very thin. Very thin.
Like everything
cushion.
melted there. I don't know. I don't know where all the feathers went.
And FC Dallas has been in very good form. They just beat LAFC.
Playing
Pereira,
serious
wonderful
football
goals.
right now.
So
and everybody knows how Austin FC plays. Like Alvarez said it. Alvarez said it after the game with Seattle, and now Seattle obviously knows about it. Nashville knows about it.
I think that's a really excellent point, David. It actually brings me to my next question. One final thought on Felipe, though. I will say, if he wants to call out the media, that's fine. If you could specifically call out Futbol En Vivo and tell people, call us out by name, because they hate clicks. Hey, they count just the same as the regular clicks.
Clicks are clicks, man.
Clicks are clicks. They all count. They all count. So that's just one final point on that. But yeah, as you said, David, I do agree with you. I think this attack is becoming quite predictable.
Stagnant.
Yes, and in particular,
and the defense too.
Well, the defense has become predictably
defense has
bad.
been the defense. I mean, they've allowed some goals.
In attack, I do think it has become a bit stale. In particular, I think the wing play of Finley and Fagundes, either these players are tired, or it has become just a bit too rote, just a bit too predictable.
Yeah.
A player I want to bring up is Washington Corozo.
Why? Why bring him up?
Because I want to see him, all right? I want to see him. So apparently
I would love to see him, but I don't.
What happened?
Well, I was reading, and apparently he didn't even fly to Seattle, according to the striker.
He didn't
fly. Do you know? I know he had like a kind of a hip injury a little while back. Is that still a problem?
No.
Or okay, so what on earth is going on here? Then, Jorge? Why can't we see this guy? Because I think if you want to talk about unpredictability, how about a bicycle kick on your MLS debut? That's unpredictable. I think that's the type of energy this team could use right now.
Exactly. And when he came in against LAFC, he disrupted that back line of LAFC defense. Mm-hmm. So he knows he's got the speed to do that. But I don't know if he's got bad practices, because Rodney has great practices apparently, because he keeps making the team. But
do whatever Rodney's doing.
But Manchita, I don't know what's going on. It's not an injury. He's not injured.
Okay, that's really disconcerting.
I don't know if they're still concerned about his defensive play, maybe, which doesn't make sense because.
See,
hey guys, don't worry because Pochettino is coming. It's coming back.
We're not.
No,
we're not
no,
allowed. David, no.
We don't want to make
Don't
this,
speak
we don't
that
make,
into
we don't,
the universe.
We don't want to make the
Don't
fans feel
do it.
worse.
He
Though.
didn't even,
Come on,
he
man.
wasn't even on the bench when the River Boca game.
Oh
this
dear
weekend.
Lord!
He wasn't even on the bench.
That doesn't surprise me. I think you're getting at something there, Jorge. I think, and as we talk about predictable, I think Wolf. I think he really likes structure, and Corozo to me feels like someone who a bit spontaneous. I mean, from what we've seen, unfortunately, we haven't seen a whole lot of him, so I can't really say for certain that he is, an unpredictable player. But to me, he would give this team something that it's missing right now, and I'm to an extent, I feel like that unpredictability is something that Wolf is perhaps a bit afraid of. Like he likes the predictable, you run my system kind of players. And that's why I didn't like Pochettino, because Pochettino was marching to the beat of his own drum.
I guess if we do some analysis of where he places himself or where he goes, he's a little bit of a freelancer. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't really follow exactly what the coaching staff wants him to do. Yeah. So sometimes instead of 10 players out there, they have 9 because he crowds and tends to hang out with another player of the similar position. Mm. So he doesn't get that pass or make that run. So he kind of crowds that side. And so I think maybe that's the problem, that he doesn't quite understand where he's supposed to be. I mean, I think Josh Wolf runs a similar system to what a Pep Guardiola runs, where they have zones. I think we talked about this in a couple games back. And yet you're supposed to kind of man that zone of the field. Yes. And Corozo just doesn't understand that. System, yeah, he kind of on instinct maybe wants to be where he wants to be, and he's just not connecting with the players.
Here's the thing, and I think you're onto something there, Jorge, but here's what I don't understand. You scout this guy. You know what kind of coach Josh Wolf is. Yeah. Why bring him in then if he doesn't fit the system on a loan where it's like he's just going to – it's not like he's one for the future that, okay, after he learns the system, he's
so are you criticizing the scouting?
I kind of am, David. I kind of am, because if you look at some of these players, Rodney Redes, Musa Jite, Jean Comanic even, Johan Valencia – big-time signings.
And they just haven't produced. I think it's akin to something like, if you ever go to a grocery store, you're hungry, and there's a stack there of sweets or whatever that you know that are bad for you, but you think, oh, I need something to eat.
You never do this, do you?
I need something to eat. I'm just going to grab this. It's kind of like that. They had a little bit of a need, and it looks like they found the first guy that they wanted, and it would happen to be Corozo. The only place he's not getting paid, he's still getting paid by Cristal in Peru. It's just a roster spot. But, boy, that roster spot is getting to be pretty important now that it's being used up. Because they can use it on a defender, to be honest.
I just don't
if they're not going to be using anybody.
I have major questions. We could let's talk about Johan Valencia. It's another big signing.
Guy.
Another big signing that was made. Lot was hoped for Valencia this season. And despite barely featuring, he has somehow racked up enough yellow cards to warrant a one-match suspension. This one was harsh. The yellow against Seattle was harsh. I don't necessarily agree with that decision. But not good that you're even becoming close to getting a yellow card just a few seconds after.
That's a few minutes.
That's really another guy that's not producing.
Do you think there is a future for Johan Valencia at Austin FC? Have you seen enough? Jorge,
I have not seen enough.
You haven't seen enough.
No,
wow.
I have not seen enough.
He's Colombian. In my heart, I want to see it happen.
Yeah, of course. Same thing with Johan Romaña, another Colombian that really hasn't produced.
I'm always a Romaña fan, and so
yeah, But
I like Romaña in a different position.
Really?
Yeah.
What position would that be?
I think I would like it to have play like a ring. Alex Ring
in the center midfield.
Center midfield in the second half when Alex Ring is really tired, I like to have him there. I love when he plays.
Are we talking about Romaña?
Romaña,
the big guy, the big slow guy.
But he was the only one last year. Every time we were losing 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, it's the only one putting danger on the other side in the second half.
I feel free
As the
to
only
comment.
one. We can go back.
Feel free to leave a comment.
But
it's
just my memory maybe got wrong.
Version, but
I thought Romaña is good when we were playing back midfield, defender midfield. I thought it was great going up front in the counterattack. Anyways, that was my view.
I'll take your word for
when
that.
I saw it.
Yeah. I don't know if so Valencia though, David. Any future for him at Austin FC? What do you think?
Well, it's hard to say about things when players barely play. You know, it's like when you barely see them play. Valencia.
Is that a criticism of Josh Wolf then? Not enough rotation in certain positions? Because in Jorge,
I mean, it's up to him. I mean, when we were criticizing him because he was not rotating, but he was doing really good, and we were criticizing him, and he kept the same thing, and he beat LA FC, and he just shut us off because we were talking bad about that.
Us up, yeah.
But then he kept the same. He did not keep the same lineup. In last game, they proved without Drusi, we are nothing.
But I understand why. I mean, Drusi was injured. You know, it's understandable.
Without Drusi, it's like we don't have half of the team.
Yeah, but again, if you see the substitutions, Valencia did make the team. So I would have loved to see, instead of Felipe, what can Valencia do? I know he's a defensive player, but if you're going to have Danny Pereira on there, see what he can do pushing up
maybe
front.
play Pereira
because
a little higher up,
because Pereira knows that Valencia is really the defensive center midfielder.
If you don't have somebody like you gotta replace Drusi with somebody at the same level.
Well, you don't have that.
Yeah,
unless you can replace him with Hani Mukhtar. I don't think you can.
And that's why I said earlier, if you're not going to have your MVP candidate,
have two guys that can play like that.
Switch everybody out.
Yeah.
I mean, put.
Be more flexible.
Bring in Rigoni somewhere in there, and
be more spontaneous, as you say. Like not keep the same, because obviously it's not working.
A little bit.
Obviously, every team is guessing what we're gonna do. Every team knows how slow our defense is. Everybody knows they can get us in the step pieces too.
Okay, David, I got a question for you. Yeah. Let's talk about Austin FC's center back pairing, because I think for most of the season, I thought this was a really good center back pairing, Gabrielson and Cascante.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people around the All-Star game saying, well, where's Gabrielson? Why is this guy not an All-Star? I was kind of one of those people that felt like this guy deserved to be on the All-Star team.
I think a lot of people asked that question.
The last few weeks, and in particular this match against Seattle, I'm starting to have my concerns about this center back pairing. David, what do you think? What are your thoughts on Cascante and Gabrielson at this very moment?
Well, at this very moment, they're not delivering.
Are you?
Obvious.
So you're
I'm
concerned?
worried. I'm very concerned because I thought we would lose against Seattle, and we did lose.
You mentioned that a few times.
I saw that coming, and I see it coming with other teams that they know that they can use that. We need some. They need help also. Cascante and Gabrielson also, they've been playing there all the time. I mean, they need some support. They need some refreshment. I mean, they cannot have all the responsibility. Obviously, they're very responsible, but they're two big guys that they don't have the technique.
They don't have the speed.
They don't have the speed that you need. You need a smaller defender to be there, like somebody with the ability to run. Because in the run, one-on-one, they're going to beat them. They're going to beat Cascante. And we saw him in the game, how easy it was to just run over them.
And that's why I said
one-on-one.
That's why I said maybe if they
and 2-on-1 too.
Instead of they would have started Felipe, they would have started Valencia and have Pereira sort of take
or maybe Keller, man.
No. I say Valencia because that's what he was brought in to do. Mm-hmm. His speed at Deportivo Cali was amazing because he would track back.
That's what we need. That's what we definitely need the speed.
The name I heard, which is absurd to think now, was Diego Chara. Was the name that he was likened to?
Right.
It's just like you got a ways to go before you get to Diego Chara's level.
But he's got the speed for it because I mean, if you bring him as a defensive specialist, use him as a defensive specialist to help these two guys out.
So you think there's a lack
we know the backs aren't going to do it because they're let's face it, they're offensive players. Both Nick Lima and Gallagher, they're gonna push up front. So you can't leave defenders that's slow as Cascante and Coleman, as Gabrielson by themselves. You need a speed guy like Valencia.
And we saw that Gallagher lost one ball, and that one of the goals came through there. In the Gallagher side.
Yes. And so, are you saying then, Jorge, that you're more concerned about the structure around these center backs failing more so than you are about the two center backs themselves?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're very good at what they do, but speed is not their attribute.
And
they
I
do
think
not have the speed, and
speed and
they
control,
recognize that.
and they don't have the speed in control.
When you see that the errors that they've made, it's mostly because they aren't able to catch up to their attacker, to their striker or forward or whoever they're trying to track. They're just too slow, and that's not their job. Their job is to hold.
Well, it's their job to score, and Cascante missed a goal, like easy goal too.
Well, yeah, that's a different aspect.
A different aspect, but it's kind of related to.
Yeah, but that's why because again,
not a quick
that's
reaction.
Really
that's not a quick reaction.
Right.
Enough quick reaction.
I mean, if you look at just to compare, you look at the national team side. You have Zimmerman and whoever else are going to have in there because Aaron Long maybe or whoever, but they have Tyler Adams, and his specialty is the defensive center midfielder. He helps out the defense, and he tracks their best player and that kind of thing. And I think Valencia can do that, but for some reason he's just not showing that either in practice
the
or
game always looks a bit too fast for him when it comes on. I think that's why he has so many
That's
yellow cards.
probably-
Everything looks just a tick too fast for him.
he probably wasn't prepared.
And here's the thing, I think you're onto something, Nori. I think it is more so than it is the center backs. They're making too many errors. It's set pieces and crosses.
Yeah,
There's been some issues there. But I do think for a while now, this team just structurally in defensive transition looks
Yes,
bad. I mean,
it looks
there's
really
a
bad.
lot of space for teams to burst into.
Yeah.
And that to me, I think is more concerning than the individual performances necessarily from Cascante and Gabriel.
Yeah, because there have been a lot
Yeah.
of passes from other teams from the box all the way to across to the other side, and it reaches their guy because the forward, the left and right backs are way too up front. So that leaves Gabrielson and Cascante alone with maybe one or two center midfielders. That's not their job anyway, and the pass gets through.
So let me tell you something. You'll love this, David. I'm a David Luiz apologist. I love the guy.
Yeah, I love the guy
And
too.
so often he would be ridiculed on social media because he's the only defender back when he's going 1v1 against the attacker.
Right.
Oh, look at David Luiz. Look at him screw up again. And it's like, well, what happened to everyone else?
He's the only guy out back there.
Why are we criticizing him? What do you expect?
That's really not his fault.
And like to a degree, I think there is some of that going on with Gabrielson and Cascante.
Right. Yeah. They really need.
Yeah, but when the team is not working, nobody works really. Like our defense looks bad, but I mean, the entire team was looking bad.
But that's the thing. Austin FC.
And then you say that's important. So important to have Driussi because the way Driussi makes the team, he plays more defense. That he just goes,
absolutely.
So we
Really
have
does
more.
put
The ball.
shift in.
So as long as we keep the ball more and we have more shots on goal, we'll be fine. But it's not happening right now.
Yeah, and it's just a little view of what life is without Driussi in the Seattle.
I don't like it. I don't want to see it again. I saw enough. No more.
I did not like it. No.
Okay, Jerry, do you have the standings by any chance? I think let's have a look at that because I want to talk big picture here. And okay, there's where it is right now. Yeah, that's getting a little disconcerting there. So Austin FC 2-point lead on FC Dallas, and they do have a match in hand.
Right.
So that's good. But if you don't win the match in hand, it doesn't do you much
It
good.
doesn't
And Austin
really-
FC, 3
yeah.
straight losses.
Right.
Not doing too great there. Here's the question I have for you guys. Let's think big picture.
Yeah.
Between now and the end of the season, what do Austin FC need to achieve for this 2022 season to be considered a success? Is simply reaching the postseason enough, or do they need to achieve more than that?
I think at minimum achieve a home playoff game. I don't even think win would that would be amazing. But at least getting a home playoff game, that'd be a heck of an achievement. But
Think back to where we were
Very
at
low
the beginning.
standards. Very low
Let's think
standards.
way back
now,
to the beginning of the season.
if we had the same conversation after the LAFC win, he said, "Oh yeah, we're getting to the cup." Now,
roller coaster of emotion.
Oh.
They've taken us on a ride.
And I did mention this in one I don't know if it was this podcast or the Austin Anthem podcast, but I did see some scenario article on MLS.soccer. They had us getting to the final.
When was this published?
Right after LAFC.
That makes more sense. Okay.
They had Austin FC losing the MLS Cup, I think, to NYCFC or something like that, which is No, Philly. To Philly.
Philly.
I'm sorry.
That makes a bit more
to
sense.
Philly.
That makes
And so because they were showing they didn't see very many weaknesses until Alvarez saw them, and then now everybody's seeing the same thing. And,
That guy, Alvarez, come on, man.
Well,
you
he
had to go and
already
expose our secrets.
knows
What-
this
what-
very
what are
well.
you
So
doing?
he's a wise
But-
coach. He
yeah,
knows what to see, but.
What is your take on this, David? You're the man of high standards on this show. What does this team have to achieve for you to consider the season a success?
I mean, it should be second round of playoff.
So you think they need to
Get to the
reach
second
the
round.
second
Go-
round?
yeah,
To
yeah.
Not make the playoffs, win a
That's
match.
the lowest standard. Yeah,
And then that's you're
Yeah,
happy.
yeah,
You go,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, second.
So basically, the
Yeah.
conference semifinals.
Yeah. So that would be me. I mean, that would be they should do for what we're done. I mean, but if we had the mentality of last year, like we will have,
I mean-
we just play off, just win it, just make it to the playoff. That will do it. For
Here's
something.
what I think. Yeah, you have to kind of put
With
the
that,
whole
yeah.
the whole season in context.
Right.
And going into this season, I don't think any of us predicted
No,
Austin
no,
FC
of
to
course
make
not.
the playoffs.
No.
No.
So making the playoffs is an achievement, and even
It
though
is,
they
it is.
are struggling here, I think we should
Right.
still keep that in mind that
Right.
this is still a very
It's a good
success-
season.
doable.
It's a very good season.
But I think, especially after that LAFC match, to not even get a home playoff game would be
That would be devastating.
devastating.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, expectations change as circumstances change, perhaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I think based on, definitely after that LAFC game, I think you got to at least get a home playoff game, or I will have a hard time considering the season a success. Whatever happens in that home playoff game, so
Hey,
be it. As long as you don't go out there and
as-
lose 3-0 again.
As long
I'll
as you
be-
get, that's why I said at least get a home playoff game, because once you get into the playoffs and you have a little bit of a home field advantage, anything can happen. You can make a run, find your form or whatever. But to go on the road for a playoff game, Austin FC will probably make the playoffs. But if they make the playoffs as a road team, after being in second for so long and really, really close to the Community Shield, that's going to be such a big letdown, not only for the fans but for the team itself. It's going to mess with their brains that they let so much slip away from them that it's going to make them nervous, I think.
I agree with you, Jorge. It's breaking David's heart. I can just see it.
No, it's breaking my heart. I mean, that's breaking my heart.
consider-
Everybody's green heart
Yeah,
is
it's
being
like,
broken at
that
the
would be
moment.
really rough because this team deserves better. I think.
They do. They've
think
played
they
so
deserve
well all
much
season.
better. Yeah.
Very competitive. I mean, they
But they need to win now. Real like Salt Lake.
Okay, let's look ahead because we got a match
matches.
coming up, David. On
Yeah, look at the
Wednesday,
matches.
Austin FC versus RSL at Q2. I believe it's an 8:15 start. David, is this a must-win match versus RSL?
Well, for exactly what we're talking about. I mean, it's a must-win game.
I think so.
For us. But you don't forget that Real Salt Lake, they're just on the playoff line, and
but
they
they're
can be with a win. They're actually gonna catch us.
Yeah,
They would be 46 points.
So we have Salt
when they
Lake,
went
who's
to
in
us,
seventh
so-
place. We're going to play also Colorado and Vancouver, which is 10th and 11th, and then the last game is against Nashville.
I think Nashville's actually on Saturday.
Yeah, Nashville's the game right after RSL.
So the winner would be Vancouver would be for the most likely chances probably. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean,
because after this slump right now, I'm really afraid of what can happen on Wednesday. And Wednesday is a key. This is a key game.
Wednesday's a key game, but something to keep in mind against Nashville is that Walker Zimmerman is out of that game for red card accumulation. That could help the thinking or for Austin FC.
But I think
Maybe,
we need to start winning this game too.
Is this a must-win
is
match
it.
for you, Jorge?
Yes,
This match on Wednesday?
they're all must win. To be honest, they've been must win since Portland.
This
But
is a must win.
They really need to put peace of mind in their own psyche and in the minds of Austin FC fans, because they're getting nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get predictions in just a second, but I got one more question about this match itself. Rigoni, should he start this match?
Yes.
Do you think he will?
No. He should start, but he won't, because
No Rigoni, no Valencia.
You just
no,
why do you think that Wolf just
he just trusts Ethan Finley more, to be honest. And to be fair to Finley, he does create some
I am a
chances,
big
but
Ethan Finley fan, but I think it's getting a bit stale. And
it is getting stale.
Last game was a couple plays he was involved in those, and
so Rigoni, when he arrived, it was the concern we talked about in the show. Are you worried about this guy coming in and maybe throwing off the balance of the team here?
No.
How do we just kind of ease him in? Now it's like, hey, actually, Rigoni, we could kind of use a little spark right now.
He's been eased in. He's been eased in.
Yeah.
So I think the players know what they can get from Rigoni. And Rigoni himself has a lot of confidence in his own abilities. So he wants to start.
Did you
I say give him a chance.
Yeah, but guys, remember also when Urruti delivers, everybody's happy. Like every time that Urruti, he's been in
you
slam
can see the
too.
bow and arrow. That's
true.
Cool.
We need to see that
coolest goal celebration.
We need to have all those guys. We need to have the mate con vos, hey,
the invite.
We need to be.
We need to start
We
that
need
up.
some yerba mate quick, man, because
I want to ask you, Horace, you got to see Rigoni live there in Seattle.
Right.
I wrote down in my notes, didn't really impress. Did you pick up on anything live, perhaps, that I wouldn't have been able to see while watching on TV that gives you hope for him in the future here?
He's very speedy, and he's very he's got a lot of he's very good with his feet. So he can get 1v1s he can take care of. Okay. The problem for that happened during this game, sad to say, is Felipe. Teams aren't afraid of Felipe, so they were able to double up on Rigoni, and that's why he didn't do anything. I mean, it is what it is.
Hopefully he's not watching.
What it is. So, but if Urruti's playing up front and Driussi's behind him, and then we have a Rigoni that can disrupt on the right wing,
mm-hmm.
that's who do you cover? And I think that's the problem that those three guys really need to play together from the start.
And
Fagundes on the other side, of course.
What are your thoughts on it, David? Should Rigoni start this match?
I mean, I think it should start, but he won't. As you say, he won't start. We know already. But what I'm saying is that everybody needs to be on in this top of the game, because
everybody needs to step up.
I mean, last game it was just like Pereira. I'm sorry, but Pereira was really, really lacking.
I mean, all the guys really.
It was like when he can shoot the ball hard, just hit the ball as hard as you can. Don't do little masitas, little kicks. Because this is professional soccer. Hit the ball hard.
Yeah,
I mean, even if you're gonna go somewhere else, hit it as hard as you can. And I didn't see that from Pereira. I mean, I'm sorry, but
I struggle to find any player that I would say had a.
But if
match.
Jerry has that interview with Pereira, maybe he can answer some of his questions.
Yes,
that we had.
Yes,
okay.
Jerry. Do we got the? Okay, Jerry giving us a thumbs up. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna hear from Josh Wolf first, and then Danny.
Okay,
Okay, your pal, David, kicking us off here.
I thought, what's your ball?
No, Josh and I. Al might be a bit strong. We're good acquaintances, Josh and I.
Yeah.
Hi, Josh. You mentioned already 2-3 times today that you have a very good team and Warriors. What is happening? What do you think is happening with this, especially these five games that we lost for?
It's a number of things. I think it's not just one thing. So, inside that we played extremely well in an LAFC game, very solid against Portland. So there's some good performances in there, but the Nashville game was solid for a half. This was a very poor performance and a big dip from, I think, more of our entire group and the collective. So that's something that we have to address, and we'll look forward. There's things that we've got to clearly get better at, and we've said that all along. We still have the goals right in front of us. We're on 51 points. We can still achieve getting a home playoff game, and that's where we'll focus on.
And you give some minutes to Rigoni. What do you think? How his evolution? What do you see on him?
Yeah, it's challenging always to come in as a sub. Hopefully he'll get to start as well in the coming games. And the game always looks and feels a little different from the start. And, I think he's done fine. There's moments where he's done quite well. His pressing, his height, getting after the center back, I think, was good. It's, those are the things that are evolving nicely. I think his understanding of the game, I think he's a very intelligent soccer player, which helps. We just got to continue to get him inundated with how we play. And, the service that he finds Diego on the back post is extremely good. That's an opportunity missed. Not that it would have maybe changed the game, but it would have been a good moment for him. So I think he's coming along in a good way.
And the last question, do you think we have to worry about Real Salt Lake and Nashville at home, or it's going to be easier to go against them?
I think every game is challenging. It always causes worry. As a coach, I'm always worried about what the next opponent's going to have, what they're trying to do to hurt us, and certainly finding more ways to hurt them. So from the starting point, we've got to be more punishing and provide more opportunities for our guys. And that comes down to execution. I think the speed of play tonight, the positioning was quite poor. So those things, when they are at a high level and they're executed in a good way, we're able to move the ball, circulate, put the opponents under pressure. We did not do that very well tonight, and thus we did not find many moments to really hurt Seattle. There were a couple, I think, throughout the game. Julio missed one. I think Diego missed one. Alex had a couple of good combinations where Alex had a shot from distance, maybe in the box, but not enough. We do better when we're putting them under pressure, and we were able to recapture balls and sustain attacks a bit more. So we got to look at it and get better.
Hola, Dani. Van 2 veces que mencionas que te tienes que ver lo positivo. ¿Qué podemos sacar de positivo de este partido?
Nada, un partido malo, pero como dije, hay que quedarnos positivos en la mente y ya, el próximo partido, darlo todo y listo.
¿Qué crees que es lo que está pasando en el equipo? ¿Son los mismos jugadores? Quizás sigan dando lo mejor de cada uno de ustedes. ¿Qué pasa, especialmente en estos 5 partidos que se han perdido 4?
Yo digo que tal vez nos conformamos con estar bien en la tabla. Ya estamos de segundo como con 10 puntos de ventaja. Nos conformamos mucho con donde estábamos, con lo que habíamos hecho, pero no hemos ganado nada, no hemos hecho nada todavía, no hemos clasificado todavía. Entonces es muy difícil decir lo que está pasando, pero bueno, como dije, hay que quedarnos positivos y prepararnos para Salt Lake, que ya va a venir rápido.
Esa es la última pregunta. ¿Qué viene con Salt Lake y Nashville en casa? ¿Cómo cambiar el chip?
Nada, ¿sabes? Ellos vienen a muerte, están peleando por los playoffs, los 2 equipos. Los 2 son buenos equipos, son equipos fastidiosos de jugar, pero bueno, concentrándonos en nosotros, darlo todo en la cancha, que es lo que podemos hacer y listo.
So, I would just like to say, you could just, the joy on
Yeah.
Josh Wolf and Danny Pereira's face
Yeah,
when they see
the optimism,
Jorge
the optimism.
Iturralde asking them a question. You know where those guys get their sports news and commentary from.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
ClubDeportes.com.
Yeah,
That's where those guys are going.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that there?
I mean, what Pereira said was pretty clear. It's like the question was, what do you guys take from this team, from this game? And he said,
What positives, right?
What positive?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No
nothing.
positive.
Absolutely nothing. And what happened with the team? They say, well, we felt comfortable being like 10 points ahead, and we thought we were gonna qualify,
They got
but
complacent. Yeah.
complacent, and he just acknowledged that, and then.
How do you feel, David? Hearing him acknowledge that, hey, we got complacent. Does that concern you at all?
I mean, it is a concern about the management, the full management.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
There we go.
Let's have the conversation, David. We heard you all last season. We know who public enemy number 1 was for you. And that was Josh Wolf. It was Josh Wolf. No secret here. Now that team's on a 3-match losing streak. They're getting complacent. I just want to take your temperature, David. What are your thoughts on the job of Josh Wolf? How do you feel about him right now?
Execution, man.
Whoa!
Execution. We need to execute. That's what he says, right?
I mean, Chelsea, they just fired Tuchel.
Yeah, they just fired him.
Tuchel got fired for 3 games, right? And in 3 games, we still we're talking about being qualifying for the playoff, being the best thing of the season. But yeah, we should not have low standards, really. We should need to have high standard with anything, and especially now. This is the time of truth. I mean, you need to rally your troops, talk to the players, and because there's something missing there, and it is in and what do you talk to the players? What are you saying? What are you saying to the players during the game? Because the message is not going through. Like the last three games,
it's not getting through.
It's not getting through. The players are not performing, and then actually they're doing worse. So something needs to be done.
You think that's a reflection on the manager?
On all the managers, I mean, you get this Wolf is the head of the manager, and you can talk about everybody because everybody's in. It's not only
divvying
Wolf.
out your criticism.
I mean, it could be the ownership.
Last season, it was very focused on one individual.
Everybody, like we have, everybody's part of the team. The fans too. Like what happened with the fans is also a reflection of the team. It's like we have so many problems now within the fan base. That might be reflecting what's happening on the field.
Possibly,
Sometimes it does.
Suppose,
sometimes it doesn't. But yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Needless to say, Austin FC's in a bad moment right now.
Yeah.
Bad moment.
But I do appreciate Danny Pineda recognizing that really, they got complacent.
That's great of him to admit that. I think that shows a lot of character on him.
That
to
it wasn't
admit that.
chemistry or they didn't get along well. None of that, because we know that they get along great, but they're just not showing it on the field. And, chemistry's great on practice. They go to each other's houses. They have their asados all the time. Wonderful. But that for the most part was translating over to each game. But for the last 3 games, just the mentality is just not there. So I don't know how they need to figure it out.
There's something right about that, because the fact that we were talking about some videos of other players playing, and this should not be an issue right now. It's like stuff like that.
It could have been a distraction. Now that you mention
it's a distraction. It's a distraction.
The media's against us.
Come on, dude.
So do you think they're focusing too much on? They're spending too much of their time on Club Deportes?
I hope not.
I mean, come on, dude.
With all due respect, I hope they're ignoring us.
You got to do your job,
because we're irrelevant to what they're doing. But
do 100% on the field, 120% on the field. Nobody's gonna complain about it.
And
Even if nobody's gonna say anything bad about you if you are on the floor running like crazy, no matter what. Even if you make a mistake, if you're gonna make a mistake, don't apologize at the end of the game. Keep running like crazy. That's the only way to apologize.
And for the most part, they have. It's just that I think it's maybe the fatigue has gotten to them because it's so late in the season. Maybe some guys are injured. And are not playing to their potential.
Well, as we say, we need to see more players playing. We need to see all the other players playing.
If that's the case, you rest a couple of guys. I mean, we saw Driussi resting, so I'm sure that's going to help in the long run, especially against RSL. Maybe he'll come back a little more, invigorated.
I hope so.
That's the hope.
I certainly hope so. Because even before, he was starting to look a little, Nashville in particular, I think, was starting
beat up.
To look a little. Beat up is a good word.
Defenses have really focused in on that guy.
Yeah,
and he's got a lot of bumps and fouls.
Yes. I think David and I talked about it on the show. You couldn't join us on right, but I think the referees need to be doing a better job at protecting him
really
out there.
Need to
I think that is a big concern. Okay, so we're getting a little short on time here. It's actually past my bedtime. Been so much good content on Club Deportes tonight that we're running late. We're the late show tonight, but I want to get some predictions before we go. David, Austin FC, RSL, Q2 Stadium, Wednesday night. Who wins?
Oh my God, I want to win so bad.
You want it.
You want to say it.
We want to win.
You want to say it.
Look the watchful eyes of the chicken of indecisiveness are gazing upon
I want to
you.
win, but the chicken of indecisiveness says it's going to be a tie. It's going to be 1-1.
It's
1-1.
Considering the last 4 games, that's a good result, to be honest.
A draw,
a draw against the playoff team,
sure.
That's great.
But let's make it more exciting. 2-2. Let's do it 2-2.
Oh, 2-2.
Okay.
All right.
I want more beer on my face.
All right. What about you, Jorge? How do you see this one going?
I predicted a win for Austin FC in the last 3 games, I think. No, I predicted an LAFC loss. That was
yes. I think you and I both had losses in that one.
Can I skip?
No, Jorge. No. There is no.
Can I embrace the chicken of indecisiveness?
Embrace him.
I abstain.
Okay, you got it.
No,
you gotta give it to him.
Okay, they're gonna win. They're gonna win 2-0.
Okay, so win.
They're
gonna
win 2-0.
Clinch the postseason playoff, and the season is over for him.
Yeah. After that, I'm done.
Well, he wants a home playoff game, W. He's not satisfied just making the playoffs.
Oh, the playoff.
That's really why.
Home playoff.
Okay.
And I think, the players know what's going on. They know FC Dallas is really close to them now. Nashville, if they beat Austin FC in the next game, which is their next game, they are right there as well. So they can't be complacent anymore. They got to step up.
No,
and this is the game to do it.
I do think they're aware of it, and especially hearing Danny Pereira acknowledge that, yes, complacency has become an issue.
Right.
I mean, that's a good thing that they're acknowledging that, and hopefully, acknowledge it and correct it. And correct it at home on Wednesday against RSL. I too like an Austin FC win. I'm going to go 2-0. I think it'll be fun, comfortable, 2-0 win. David, the chicken is looking right at you. I had reached back and grabbed it, but I've fallen off this before, and I don't want to risk doing that again. So you're just going to you're just going to have to gaze upon it. Okay. It's been fun, you guys.
Yes.
It always is. I want to thank Jerry Lopez. I want to thank Club Deportes. I want to thank our fans. We want to thank Josh Wolf and Felipe Martins for all their wonderful comments on our Club Deportes commentary here. We're going to do this again next week. Thanks, everyone.